Hi guys, thought I would film a video about the International Experience Canada, or the Working Holiday Visa Programme. I got that visa in like 2011, 2012 and I went to Vancouver. So I just thought I'd talk about my experience a little bit. And I also went through the application process in 2013 as well. I know it's changed a little bit, mostly in that the visas now last for 2 years and you can only go once, whereas before when I went the visas only lasted 1 year but you could go twice. So yeah, just thought I would talk a bit about my experience in the application process. I did not use USIT. If you decide to go with USIT, that's fine, but I'll also just explain like what the differences are between USIT and doing it yourself. So I created my Compass or CIC account on the 18th of January, and that was when my personalised application form was ready for me on the site. So what I did was I just printed it out and I filled it out. Do not leave anything on this form blank. Number one, the reason one is because it will get rejected, the end of story. But reason number two is because it won't get rejected until weeks and weeks have passed and you will have wasted a lot of time and the visas could be gone. By then the quota could be filled. So I'll touch a bit again on that later. But basically when you get that form, fill out all of the details. Get at least 2 people to proofread all of the information and cross-check it, make sure it's correct. Do it yourself, like so many times, go through that form. When you go with USIT do not do any of that for you. You still have to do it all yourself. So they're not like, you know, doing anything, you know, you're not paying them to apply you for the program. You still have to do it yourself. So I just want to clarify that as well. Anyway, I posted off my application pack and I heard back from them on the 7th of February. So like already, like I got the form to print out on the 18th of January and by the 7th of February, so it was only, you know, less than 3 weeks before they'd received my application. On the same day, I got an email to say that my application was conditionally accepted and that they were ready for me to go ahead and wire them the payment. So I had to go to the bank and do like a wire transfer, or like it was just a bank like a European bank transfer, and it was €110. So that's all I paid to the Canadian Embassy during this entire application process. Yeah, that was on the 7th of February, and in the email it said I had exactly 10 days to pay, that they would have to receive the funds from me by the 17th of February. So I'm not sure where during that time I actually made the payment, but the next email I received from them was on the 16th of February and it was to confirm that they had received my payment. So I guess, you know, I obviously made my payment within those 10 days. If you do not make the payment within these days, your application will be rejected and you will have to start over again. The day after I got confirmation that they received my payment, I received another confirmation to say that my application had passed the first evaluation phase and that it was going to be passed on to the Canadian Embassy in Paris to get processed. So they also stated specifically in the email that this processing phase takes 8 weeks and not to contact them until after 8 weeks. So I mean, like, if you're on week 6 and you're hearing of other people that have already got their application approved and everything, and you know, you still haven't heard anything about your application, there is no point in emailing them at that time. You must wait for another 2 weeks before sending them any communication to ask what's the status. So you can see why making sure that the whole application is filled out entirely correct and that you're not missing any information, you can see why that is so important, because you know, if you have to wait 8 weeks before you can even inquire about the status of your application. You know, if you have to wait 8 weeks to hear that your application has been rejected, that's like 2 months gone. The quota could be filled depending on when you applied, and when you start your application again, you're looking at 8 weeks again. So it's not going to be like they're not going to get back to you and say, hey, you filled out some fields wrong, send it back to us within a week. That ain't going to happen. It will just get rejected, and then you'll have to contact them and say, what's up? And when you find out why, you'll have to start the application process again with all of the same time frames, maybe longer if they've already got a big backlog. So it's really important to make sure all of the information that they require is, you know, that you have provided it accurately and correctly. So it was the 17th of February when I heard that I had passed the first evaluation phase. The next communication I got from them was the 23rd of March. On the 23rd of March, I received notice that my application had been approved and was successful, and I was issued with a letter of introduction. So your letter of introduction is what you take with you to Canada on your first day that you arrive, and they'll issue you with a visa. So the letter of introduction had 1 year until it expired. So it was issued to me on the 23rd of March, and the expiry date was the 13th of March the following year. So I had just under a year to enter the country. So from the date that I entered, I had a year to come back. So if I went on the 1st of December 2011, I could stay until the 1st of December 2012. If I entered in May 2012, right before it expired, I could still stay till May 2013. So the date on your letter of introduction is not the date that you have to leave Canada. It's the date by which you must arrive. So don't panic or stress or anything if that time or the expiry date, you know, don't be thinking, oh, this only allows me to stay in Canada for, you know, 9 months or whatever. It doesn't mean that. It just means you have to get there before that date for your visa to start. So that was from the 17th of February to the 23rd of March, between when my first evaluation, I passed the first evaluation phase, and I actually got my letter of introduction. So that was about like just over 5 weeks. Now that wasn't 5 weeks from the first date I applied. As I said, the first date I applied was between some stage, you know, after the 18th of January, at the end of January. So, you know, altogether I guess it did take about 8 weeks. So what I did the same day, that same day that I got my letter of introduction, I booked my flights. Do not book your flights before you get this letter. If you book your flights before you get this letter, you could potentially lose a lot of money. You might get your visa and it will say, you know, you might be waiting a bit longer for it than you would expect, and then you may not be able to go. So I definitely, you know, do as they say, wait until after you get your letter of introduction to book your flights. So I booked my flights directly with Air Canada, and I paid €701 for my return flights to Vancouver. So that involved on the way there a stopover in Heathrow and a stopover in Toronto, only for a couple of hours at a time. And then on the way back it involved just one stopover, and that was at Toronto. So altogether, taxes, everything included, the return flight was €701. So far I've paid €701 for my flights. I've paid €110 to Canada for my visa and the application process. The next thing I need to do is book travel insurance. So you don't need any fancy travel insurance or anything like that. I mean, especially if you're planning on working while you're there. You just need travel insurance that meets the basic criteria that Canada have given you, and that's that it has medical insurance for the duration of your stay, and that it has repatriation included. So repatriation is basically like, it's a bit somber, but if you die, that your body will be like transported to your home country. So I got my insurance with backpackerinsurances.com, and at the time I paid €191 for my insurance for the duration of my stay. Now I checked on the website today, I know that was a couple of years ago, but I checked today, and depending on whether you're going for 1 year or 2 years, you can actually get insurance between €100 and €200 total. That's not like 100 per month or anything. That's it. Like, so far I had paid 700 for the flights, 110 for the visa. That brings me up to 810, and then 190 for the insurance. So that brings me up to, like, help me out here, exactly €1,000, like €1,001. So I didn't spend any more money than that getting to Canada. When you go with USIT, you pay them, you have to still do all the stuff. So you have to fill out all the applications yourself, you have to send it off yourself, you can't, you know, I think sometimes you might have to buy the flights through USIT, I'm not sure, and the insurance, but I don't see the point in that. In addition to that, you have to pay USIT €150 just to go through them, and even at that, you're not, as I said, you're not really going through them. You still have to do all of the application yourself. You still have to decide when you want to go and book your flights. The only things that USIT claims differentiates them is that they offer like information about Canada. I mean, you can buy a Lonely Planet book to get that information. You can go on the Canadian Embassy website, which you will be interacting with a lot during the application process, and all of that information is available for you there. They say that you'll get access to a job board with over 1,000 jobs in Canada. 1,000 jobs in Canada. I mean, if you go on Craigslist, at least 1,000 jobs will be posted a day if you're in Vancouver. I mean, I don't think it's worth paying €150 to get a guidebook from USIT, and, you know, access to another jobs database where the jobs are probably posted somewhere else anyway. So yeah, I mean, you don't, when you do this, you don't apply to USIT at all. It's not like they're approving your application. You still have to send it to the Canadian Embassy and they can reject you. So that's just my stance on it. Like, I spoke to a number of people in Canada who had gone through USIT, and they'd booked their flights through USIT and their insurance, and they had spent like €2,000 to €3,000, and you know, they were flying at about the same time as me. They weren't necessarily going at like peak holiday season or anything. I flew over in May. It was just that, you know, they had a few less options when it came to flights and insurance. On the USIT website, you'll notice that it says €150 for participation in IEC, plus €110 for CIC. CIC stands for Canadian Immigration Canada, or Citizenship and Immigration Canada. So like, there is no IEC charge, you know, that's just something that USIT have made up. The charge for IEC is €110, and that's what you pay directly to CIC when you just do the application through them. They have very thorough checklists on the Canadian Embassy you know, on the Citizen and Immigration website, of everything to check for when you're applying, to make sure you have it. Go through that checklist again and again until you're positive that you have everything in your application. So anyway, I flew, as I said, I flew to Heathrow first, and then I flew to Toronto before making my connection to Vancouver. I actually went through customs at Toronto because that was my port of entry into Canada. Even though my destination was Vancouver, I arrived in Toronto first, so that's where I had to you know, check out with immigration. So I had to bring proof of my travel insurance, which I had printed out. I had to bring my letter of introduction, which you can print off. Obviously I needed my passport, and then the last thing was oh yeah, you have to bring your proof of funds, which you testify to when you're applying. I think they might have changed that now. Maybe you don't need to bring that when you arrive. But at the time I had to bring like a printed bank statement, which was within, you know, I had to have printed it within a few weeks or something to say that the funds were available in my account. So yeah, that was fine. I just went up to the immigration desk and gave him this material, and the man was really friendly and just, you know, checked through my information and my documents, and asked me what I was planning to do while I was there, that kind of thing. So yeah, he was really friendly, and he just put, like, I'll actually show it to you, the visa, it's just like a page that goes into your passport like this, or some of the details, but they just staple a big page into your passport. And that's it. That's what you get when you turn up, and it just has a date on it for when you have to, not for when you have to leave the country by, but this is a work permit, so it has a date in it to say like for how long you're permitted to work, which is a year from the date that you enter. Just another note on USIT, I actually had a look just so that I could be sure I was up to date. I had a look on the USIT website, and I just tried to book some flights through them for the IEC program, and I chose some specific dates, which were from May until May this year until October next year. And with USIT the total came to €985, and that was with Air Canada through the USIT website. I then went on to the Air Canada website and checked flights for the exact same dates, return flights for the exact same dates, and the total came to €660.88. So like, that's a big difference. What USIT did is like they included an additional travel insurance, which was €349. As I explained before, you can get it with backpacker insurance for, you know, like between 100 and 200. And the other thing is, when you actually deduct the travel insurance option, if you actually opt out of that on the USIT website, the total still came to €726 for the flights, and that was €660 with Air Canada. That's fees, charges, surcharges, taxes, all included. So, you know, it's still a bit of money that they're keeping for themselves. You know, you can just book it by yourself, and you know you've got it. In terms of, you know, what I was saying about insurance, the reason why you don't need to get any fancy insurance, you just need to get the bare minimum that Canada's asking you to have, and that's because when you work there, especially in BC, I was in Vancouver, when you work, you're actually registered in a provincial health program. So if you do get sick while at work, you're covered anyway, and the travel insurance is really, you know, it's to cover any accidents on holiday that might mean that you need to get home. So, you know, don't be stressing out about getting this really expensive global health plan from VHI or something. You're not going to need it. Canada aren't looking for you to have health insurance. They're looking for you to have travel insurance, which is to cover you in a medical emergency and repatriation. When you have a job, you will be covered under the provincial health program, at least in BC anyway. I'm not sure about Ontario, but I would imagine that they might have something similar. I'll put any relevant links below, like for backpacker insurance, and you know, for any other information. I don't know, if you have any questions, let me know, and just ask in the comments. So good luck with your application. Just remember to fill everything out. Don't leave anything blank. If you're unsure about something, ask someone. Check, you know, there's lots of forums on, you know, threads on boards.ie, and you know, check the FAQs and the Canadian Embassy website. don't wait and contact them and wait to hear back from them before continuing with your application. You need to get on the case, and they're not gonna contact you back, you know, in a hurry unless there's a problem. If they don't have any application from you, they're not going to be in a hurry to reach out to you, and the clock is ticking. So just don't leave anything blank. You know, go over the checklist that they've provided of the things that you need in your application. Make sure it's all there, and make sure it's clear, there isn't any like contradicting information in your application. Make sure your CV, if you've to submit a CV with it, make sure it matches everything you filled in your application form. What I will say is, you know, I can film more videos about my experience in Canada and how I spent my time there and finding work. If you'd like to know more information about that, again, please leave a comment and give this video a thumbs up. I'm aiming to get 10 likes on this video, so if I can get 10 likes on this video, I'll film a video about, you know, like how I found work there and what I found my experience like. But yeah, if you have any questions at all about my experience, please just post it in the comments below. Yeah, and subscribe for more. Thanks.